Hey, what's up, witches? It's Luna here with a reading for the full moon chart for July 21st, 2024. This happens at 6:17 a.m. in the Eastern time zone, or specifically where I live, so please adjust for your own. This is a very interesting and consequential full moon, as I'm sure you're feeling. Number one, it is the second Capricorn full moon in a row. Now, we've been doing this kind of backwards lunar cycle thing where we hit, we have the pairs of signs, Aries and Libra, Taurus and Scorpio, the polar opposites. And the natural flow of the lunar cycles is we have a new moon in a sign, and then 2 weeks later we have the full moon in the opposite sign. But we've been doing kind of a backwards thing where we've had the full moon in a particular sign, and then the new moon is in the same pair. So it's sort of been going backwards. We dipped into a forward progression last year briefly, and then we swiftly went backwards again. So this, when we reset that cycle, you have either two new moons in a particular sign or two full moons in a particular sign. So this is Capricorn. Why is this significant? Because Pluto, you see him sitting right here at 0 degrees and 54 minutes of Aquarius, is retrograding now at 0 Aquarius. He's going to dip back into Capricorn in time for the election. And this is the power struggle that we are currently in, the old calcified ways represented by Capricorn, which is tradition. It is dogma. It's things that can't be questioned, things that are long-standing, whether that's a good thing, a sense of rootedness and belonging and lineage, or a bad thing, which is a sense of staleness and dogma and a lack of ability to innovate, to move on. It's getting stuck in tradition. So we've got, let's just go with the basics here. Let's look down at the bottom right corner in the graphs of the elemental breakdown here. Without house cusps, we get a predominance of water with fire close behind, and then we have a strong predominance of cardinal. Cardinal water is Cancer, and we've got Cancer sitting, or Sun sitting in Cancer. You notice it's the only planet in Cancer, but still we have a predominance in water, and we have a predominance in cardinal. So that gives us the Cancer chart signature. Moon sits in Capricorn, so we see the opposition here. And in the flat wheel, this is the 4th and 10th house axis, and it can describe your parents. 4th house is classically, with the sign Cancer, mother. 10th house is classically father. Both of these are, so-called feminine elements, water and earth. But it talks about Cancer being emotional foundations, a sense of home, and a sense of nurturing and belonging in your own home, whereas Capricorn is structure and it's achievement. So it's where you take that emotional foundation and express it outwardly in the world through your achievements, through how you structure your life. It also, Capricorn can represent the father because that was classically seen as the person who's the disciplinarian, the one who sets limits, but it's not always like that, right? So we have the nurturing, emotional versus the more practical, structured, and outward reaching. So the internal, the external, and Capricorn being that, tradition and dogma, that's where the moon sits. Moon in Capricorn is in its detriment. It is not easy to express emotionally through Capricorn. There has to be a purpose to it. There has to be a reason. And very frequently, people with moon in Capricorn do not see the point in displays of emotion. So emotions can kind of get stuck. Sun in Cancer is those open arms of the mother. So we can, appreciate kind of the tension between those two things, but look at it as an invitation from that Cancer sun to express what we're afraid of. Capricorn, the Saturn rulership of the moon can bring up fears. So it's very good to bring those out into the light of day and to look at what it is that's making us feel insecure, because when we feel insecure, we can go back to old structures and old calcified ways that don't really allow our emotions to flow. Now we get to the really interesting stuff. You see here where the moon sits, we have Pluto conjuncting the moon at 29 degrees, the Pluto at 0. It's almost 2 degrees apart, but it's closer, and it's applying because the moon is moving towards Pluto, and Pluto, being retrograde, is moving towards the moon. Moon Pluto conjunction, oof, this intensifies everything. Pluto takes things to the extreme. So we can expect some really intense emotions during this transit. It is a wonderful opportunity, Pluto being the transformer, to dig deep into those old calcified fears, maybe fears that were part of the structure of your family, part of your emotional foundation, and to bring those into the light of day for transformation. Pluto can rip things out by the roots, but then it leaves a space to plant something new. It leaves a fertile space. So be aware of the intensity, but know that it can also really be transformative. Collectively, the Pluto opposing the sun can talk about the power struggles, defining the power struggles that we are in right now. So Sun in Cancer is about the feminine expressing. The strong move now towards government that really does serve everyone, that makes sure people's needs are taken care of, that nurtures everyone regardless of, how they express their individuality. And then we've got Pluto sitting there going, there can be only one, but he can really dominate. So we are in this power struggle, and it certainly is delineated there. Let's look at the fact that we've got Mars here trining, exactly trining. So Mars is at 0 degrees of Gemini. Mars changing signs takes us from Mars in Taurus, which is slow energy. It's practical. It's rooted. It can take us a while to get moving, but then we really see things through on a practical level. Then we move it into Gemini, an air sign, and it just, it can scatter. Any planet moving through Gemini takes on a duality and can bring in multiple tracks. So when you put Mars in Gemini, all of a sudden we have very active thoughts. So not that slow, practical step by step, but we've got monkey mind jumping around and trying to decide on a course of action. And it can get scattered through many courses of action, or just completely lost in crazy thoughts, thoughts going nonstop. But it activates as well. So we've got it trining this Moon-Pluto conjunction. And we can take action in thinking through our deep struggles, thinking through old emotional climates, old emotional structures that need to be transformed. So Mars can act as a catalyst here. Through knowing your story, through communicating your story, we can transform old emotional crap. Now, another interesting thing is we have Neptune, and Mars also sextiles the sun here. So when you have an opposition and a planet coming in trining one side, it's automatically going to sextile the other side. So sextiles bring opportunities. The trine is a gift. So it's easy to think about, to talk about our story. to map out a plan. So, that can talk about taking action through thought and mapping things out. The sextile between Mars and the Sun says it's an opportunity to express ourselves actively, to put it out there in no uncertain terms verbally, and express how we're feeling, Sun in Cancer, right? Then we have Neptune trining the Sun, sextiling the Moon. Pluto conjunction. Neptune sits at 29 degrees 50 minutes. The Sun is at 29:08. So we have, if we have Sun Neptune squaring or opposing each other, it can bring in real problems. The square can cause a great lack of self-esteem, a sense of inferiority. It can really dissolve your constitutional strength. Opposing can really mean you have a terribly, terribly low sense of self-esteem and who you are. But this is a trine. So Neptune being the dissolver, it dissolves boundaries. It dissolves the distance between ourselves and others, between ourselves and spirit. It brings in the muse. Sun Neptune trine can bring in tremendous creativity and inspiration, the ability to channel spirit through your own self-expression. So this is a wonderful opportunity to do prayer work, to do devotional work, to do artwork, poetry, music, dance, anything that is expressive of the spirit moving through you. This is an amazing setup. And what can you express? It's in water signs. Emotions. You can pour your emotions into artwork in a way that will be cleansing and healing for you, that will be connecting, but that also, and I mean, you don't have to commodify, you don't have to put it out to the public, but this is the function of art. When you truly express your own emotions through whatever Neptune rules, whatever mode of art you choose, it's a true expression, and anyone else viewing that's been through similar experiences is going to feel it. So it can catalyze others expressing. And then Neptune sextiling the Moon Pluto conjunction says we have an opportunity to connect with spirit more strongly. We have an opportunity to work magic, to call in deity, to call in our better angels, and express these intense emotions, these transformative emotions, bust up that calcified Capricorn moon, right? And really express it in a wonderfully nurturing way. We do have a lot of other aspects showing here, but I'm only going to mention one because the rest of them are wide. They're beyond 2 degrees, which is the orb that I use for transits. So the one I'm going to talk about here is a Jupiter-Venus sextile. It's a little weak. Sextile is one of the more minor of the main aspects, but and this is also separating, so that weakens it a little bit. Still, we have Venus at 1158, which is 12 degrees, and we've got Jupiter at 12 degrees. This is the greater benefic, Jupiter, and the lesser benefic, Venus, sextiling each other. So we also have, with this new moon, an opportunity to express our love, our values, in a grand, expanded way, Jupiter, in a generous way. Jupiter says we can communicate on a mass basis, Jupiter in Gemini. And Venus in Leo says we can lead by expressing love and care in an expansive way. So again, putting that Cancer nurturing energy out toward the people in your local sphere, in your intimate sphere, but also putting it out on a larger scale. Having said all that, I would be completely remiss if I didn't give you another astrological reality, and that is, just because something is in flowing aspect, trines and sextiles does not mean good. It means easy. So if we look at it in that way, and we see this Mars in Gemini, which can talk about active mind, also can talk about active mouth, trining this moon Pluto, it means that people just could be verbally popping off about their shit. Very easy to do. Sun Neptune trine can say it's very easy to sort of lose yourself in wonderful escapes like art, or not so wonderful escapes like drugs and alcohol and food and whatever else you can get addicted to. The Jupiter Venus sextile brings up opportunities to overindulge Jupiter in things that look good, feel good, taste good, smell good, all of that stuff. So be aware. You can also very easily lose yourself in some escapism. I could imagine somebody drinking a little bit too much and just verbally going off. And when we've got Pluto and Mars in trine, Mars, it helps that Mars is in an air sign. In Taurus, it could get a little physical, but this way it sort of keeps it verbal and mental. What makes the difference in how this manifests? Awareness and choice. Okay, I think that's it. Let me know what you guys think. Celebrate this full moon. Celebrate them all. It is, I've seen other readers coming up with cards talking about joy and celebration. And certainly our last live stream was all about that. Even while the tension and these turbulent changes and times where everything is in flux, even now, it really is our duty to celebrate life and what it means to us. So I encourage you to do that and to do some good magic for this full moon. Until I see you again next time, this is Luna. Blessed be.